Guys, I'm popping in today with a new post for my Camera Confidence blog series. So far in this series, I've talked about some of the fears we have about getting in front of the camera and having our photo taken, because I know how awkward it can feel and how scary it can be sometimes. Even as a photographer, I get nervous about it. So far I've talked about how to plan a brand photo shoot, some of the fears we have, how to pose, that kind of thing. So I wanted to show you guys my photo editing process, because I realized a lot of you don't really know what goes on in that process beyond, editing a photo on your iPhone or something like that. So I wanted to show you guys kind of the light retouching that I do, the overall edits. No image comes out of the camera ready to go, and I do a lot of work behind the scenes. So let's get started. Right, so once I import a shoot to my computer, this is where I am. So this is an Adobe product called Bridge, so it lets me sort through all of my pictures. And as you can see with one shoot, there's a lot of pictures that I take, so I need to go through them and choose the best ones. So this was a shoot that Hunter helped me shoot for my new website last year, so it's just some headshots of me. So I'll kind of go through and show you guys how this works. So here's a little series that we took of me. I ended up liking this one the best, so it's kind of at the beginning, but I'll just show you there's just a lot of variations. My hair is kind of going crazy, so I'm not going to choose that one. Sometimes your eyes are closed, not great. That's a little cheesy, not loving that. But basically I just go through all of these, choose the best ones, and then I bring them into a program called Lightroom, and that's where I do the editing. So once I've chosen my favorite photos, I'll bring them into Lightroom, which is my editing program, and then I can bring them into Photoshop from here to do some more detailed tweaks. So we'll start with this walking shot. So one of the most important things that I always start with is the white balance. So pictures can come out of the camera looking way more blue or way too warm. In this one in particular, you can see that it's just pretty dark and it's a little bluer. This one's pretty dark and a little too blue-green to me. This one is actually looking pretty good. You can see the red, green, blue numbers are actually exactly spot on. So that means this white is actually white. So I won't make too many changes. I'll just brighten it up a little bit. I'll adjust the highlights and the shadows, maybe add some contrast. That usually looks good. Make sure my whites and blacks are actually white and black here. So this one really didn't need too many changes. I want to show you guys how I get rid of some of these distracting elements, like this rust spot, the paint chips, this little thing on the sidewalk. I'm kind of OCD, so I like to get rid of some of the stuff like this that I think is distracting. So in Photoshop, you work on layers, so I'm just going to copy this background layer. Photoshop has these amazing tools now that kind of copy your pixels and work with them. So I'm going to use this patch tool right here, and it's kind of like magic. It's amazing. It just gets rid of that right there. So you can see the before and after. It was so easy. Especially on this white background, there's not really a pattern to it, so it's really easy to get out these kind of distracting elements. Something like the sidewalk is a little bit harder, but it's not too bad. Photoshop makes it just so easy. I'll get rid of this no that somebody wrote in the concrete. And that's looking so much better. So we're going to just close this and save it. And that image is pretty much ready to go. There wasn't too much to do to it. This one's a little bit trickier. It just came out of the camera a little too underexposed, so it's a little dark. But you can easily brighten it up and add some warmth to it maybe. In addition to looking at the whites, I can also look at my skin and kind of see how these numbers are balancing out, if it's a little bit too red or a little bit too green, a little too blue. So that's looking pretty good already. Make a few little adjustments here. Maybe a little too bright. And then I'll bring this into Photoshop and show you guys how I do some retouching. So here's this one. I'm just going to copy the layer again, and we'll zoom in on my face. So here's another tool called the Clone Stamp tool, which copies the pixels that you select. So I brought the opacity down to 30%, so it's pretty light. So I can just copy this and brush it in around my eyes. And it just kind of brightens everything up and smooths everything out. And I even do this sometimes on like babies, so it's nothing crazy. Sometimes just the way the shadows are falling, it makes your eyes look a little bit darker. And you can also use it to smooth out skin, which I love. So that just looks so much better to me already. They also have this really awesome tool called the Spot Healing Brush tool. So if you have any breakouts, which I often do, you can just take this little tool and it's so easy. Just click around and get rid of things. I usually don't get rid of freckles, but just to show you guys kind of how that works. So this one overall is looking really blue-green to me, pretty dark. It was kind of closer to sunset, and I'm in this shaded area, so it came out kind of underexposed. So I'll brighten it up a little bit, add a little bit of contrast, add some warmth. The highlights are looking a little bright to me right here, so I'll bring that down a little bit and lighten up the shadow since I'm a little shadowy. So in Lightroom too, I often use this brush tool. It makes it a little easier than going straight into Photoshop to do some things. So I'm feeling like my eye right here and just this side of my face is a little shadowy. So I can bring up the shadows right here and just kind of paint this in. And it just kind of brightens everything up a little bit. So that's the before and after so far. And then I'll do a little bit of retouching again on my face just to show you guys again what I do for that kind of thing. So this one is looking pretty good so far. I'm just gonna do a little bit to my under eyes, brighten everything up. Now this is looking a little too dark and it kind of copied some of my hair over there. So I can just do that again really easily. Smooth out some skin, some shadows right there. It's looking too dark right there. Just might use this tool instead. Get rid of some of those breakouts. So that's looking so much better already. I don't need to do too much more. So I'll save that. Alright, so I'll show you guys some before and afters of what I did here. So this is our first image. Just a little too dark and had some distracting elements. So I took it into Photoshop and just cleaned everything up and it's looking so much brighter and better. I could even go further with this sidewalk and really clean it up if I wanted to. Here's this image. Here's what we started with. So it was totally dark, really blue-green out of the camera. And then we brightened it up and retouched my face just a little bit, which I think looks great. And then here's our other last image. So there's the beginning. Looking really blue, really dark, really shadowy. And then I just brightened it up and made it a little bit warmer to match the mood of the photo. So there are just a few pictures I wanted to show you guys and a few of the methods that I use for retouching. I don't want you to be scared about the editing process or what you're going to look like because you're in good hands. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you enjoyed watching and definitely let me know what else you want to know about camera confidence because I will keep making these blog posts for you guys. I'm really enjoying it and I love hearing your feedback about it. So I'll talk to you guys soon.